Does your account look like this? Yeah, you know the type. You got yourself an Eloise, you've just got your first Transcendence hero, and you're like, oh, do I use Vesa and then support the Eloise? Or do I build a damage dealer? I don't know. Or maybe you've reached a point where your account looks like this. Oh, look, Tree of Origin 3 on your Eloise. Isn't that nice? Is it time to make some progress? Hell yeah, it is. Today we're going to be answering the classic question, at what point do you stop using Eloise and start using a team focused around a Transcendence hero? I know, it's super exciting. You've just got your first Transcendence hero, now you want them to go unga bunga and kill everything. However, the most common mistake I see people make when they get their first Transcendence hero is to try and funnel everything in to that one hero. Yes, you've probably seen me do it on the Diamond series, but there's one specific reason it was possible on the Diamond series, and it all comes down to spiritual essence. Maybe you're a free-to-play player that's never unlocked the Void campaign, so you have no spiritual essence at all, and that's perfectly normal. Maybe you're someone who's spent money and has progressively picked up spiritual essence as a reward just because some events do give it and you can't really say no to it, and you will eventually get some. The majority of people, though, that do get presented with the option of choosing spiritual essence as a reward will completely say no to that and instead go ahead and pick essence sublimation selection chests because these are significantly better and arguably the better rewards for you to have on your account, because they can be used to, of course, improve the power level of your heroes by improving their skills to make them super jacked with pure, deep, and noble sublimation. So if you've gone ahead and unlocked a Transcendence hero, you'll probably want to go ahead and make them really strong, right? Well, the first thing you need to do is beat campaign and unlock this, the Void campaign. If you've never seen this screen before, it means you haven't beaten campaign. You need your Eloise, your starting hero, to go ahead and clear through campaign. And a lot of you are like, oh, but my Eloise can't beat this certain wave. Try putting an Ignis next to Tix instead of Eloise. And if you haven't got a 9-star Ignis, just build one already. Because the Ignis will energy feed the Tix. If you give him a melodic strings, he'll do an active skill round 1, then round 2, kill out the waves that you're struggling with. In the case of Eloise, sometimes she'll want to kill stuff, so you put Ignis next to her, and she'll carry you through the waves. If you do go ahead and unlock a Transcendence hero, you'll probably want to go with a support hero to make your Eloise better. The most common choice is always to go with Fairy Queen Vesa because she gives shields and healing to your team. Most people make the mistake of thinking they then have to make the Fairy Queen Vesa a homeowner instead of the Eloise. This is not why we built her. We built her because she is a support hero. You could just as well go with Halora, or even if you were feeling extra gnarly, go with Freya. It doesn't really matter. The hero is here to support Eloise. And once you've got a Void 4 Transcendence hero, you can go ahead and unlock the Void campaign. Once the Void campaign is unlocked, you will begin to accumulate rewards, most importantly, spiritual essence. And spiritual essence, you're going to need 233,000 of. Now, why am I saying that number? Well, it's because when you get to 233,000 spiritual essence, you have enough to build a Tree of Origin 3 hero, which means you can begin to make progress in the Glory Challenge. That means what you should be doing is focusing everything on Eloise. Even though you have a Transcendence hero, keep her as a homeowner, get her to Tree of Origin 3. When you do, you'll get this. You'll have a Shadow or Abyss hero to Tree of Origin 3. Congratulations, that's going to be Eloise. At that point, you can get excited, because even if you're a free-to-play player, you'll hopefully have some Essence Sublimation chests if you've been playing the game remotely properly, because you can claim these as rewards by saving scrolls, saving gems. Heck, they're given out all the time. If you haven't got one of these, you're clearly falling asleep at the wheel and not engaging with events properly. So subscribe to this channel and go check out our event reviews every Friday to learn how to get this resource, because this resource will make your account really strong and make Transcendence heroes viable on your account. Anyway, assuming you have got some of these chests, it's time to get excited, because when you do get to Tree of Origin 3 on an Eloise, what you can do is use the soul symbols that you've saved up. Remember this resource that you are encouraged to not use too much because you'll need it eventually? Well, this is used for these particular moments. This is what we call a transition period on an account. And in my opinion, this is the end of early game, when you get to Tree of Origin 3. Because you'll use some of your soul symbols to regress your Eloise, say bye-bye, and everything comes out of her. And then you can go ahead, if you swapped or regressed the Eloise, to make a Tree of Origin 3 hero in Fortress or Forest. And this is even better if it's a hero you don't want anymore. Maybe you've got a Garuda still for some reason. You can build her up and get rid of her. Maybe you have an Inosuke that you decided to build for fun, or a Penny that you're still using. You can go make them Tree of Origin 3, do whatever you have to do with them in the Seal Land, and then get them out of here. Destroy them, because you'll then get some Spiritual Essence and you'll get some Stellar Shards. Now, once that happens, you can then go and make someone in the Light and Dark faction, build them up, destroy them. Could be a Russell to help you with Light Seal Land. It could be an Eos just for the fun of the same thing. It could be you just decide to build up your Drake and then get rid of him again, or your Carrie and then get rid of her again. And then you can rebuild them. That's the great thing. It can just be a hero you've already got, because when you regress them, you can just build them back up again. There's no harm in it. But the important thing is you want to go ahead and get yourself a Tree of Origin 3 hero in that faction as well. Now, you started this journey with 233,000 because you had a Tree of Origin 3 hero, but now you have 433, 633, 833,000 Spiritual Essence. And that means you can build yourself a Tree of Origin 5 hero, which means you can go from that point of having an Eloise, who's Tree of Origin 3, to an account that looks like this with an absolute Giga Chad Tree of Origin 5 Transcendence hero. Now, does it need to be a Lord of Fear Aspen? No, not necessarily, although he's fantastically good and only requires his active skill to be sublimed. Everything else is just a little bit on the side. You don't even need these. I just have these for the HP and attack. You can just go with the active skill, and that's okay. And by improving that, it's the cheapest, most efficient carry hero for anyone, especially if you're free to play. Therefore, it's a good investment. So yeah, maybe consider a Lord of Fear Aspen, but it doesn't have to be a Lord of Fear Aspen. Early on, loads of people absolutely love to go with a Mockman. You can make him Tree of Origin 5 and use him as a damage dealer. He can use your Eloise as a tenant. He'll use Onkiramaru as a tenant. He uses Saja as a tenant, which should be pretty easy to build, and then you just need to somehow build a Forkis or another Mockman copy, and away you go. There's all of his tenants. So as long as you can get your tenants in on the account, you're going to have a great time. That's another great thing about Lord of Fear Aspen, by the way. His tenants are Carrie, Drake, Amon-Ra, or Onkiramaru, and then you'll just need to get yourself, eventually, for your next Transcendence hero, probably an Elena, although I'd rather get her as your third Transcendence hero, so you're probably just going to have to build a Mockman as a dark hero. Just deal with it, right? Same thing that Mockman needs. You just got to build someone, right? And there you go. That's all of Aspen's tenants. So that's pretty fun. However, you could, if you're feeling also pretty different, you could totally go with someone else, like a Sword Flash. And Sword Flash, again, she's going to want sublimation on her active skill, make her Tree of Origin 5, so you can eventually sublime this as well, so she can feed herself energy, because that's absolutely what her noble sublimation does for some reason, and then she's going to be really, really strong. The point of all of this, though, is you need Sublimation and Tree of Origin 5 on a Transcendence hero for them to be viable early on. Why? Because Tree of Origin 5 gives you a ton of stats and the opportunity to put that Sublimation to good use. If you cannot make them Tree of Origin 5, if you cannot put your Sublimation in onto their tree, that Transcendence hero is going to be about as useful as a fart in the breeze. You would rather you stayed with Eloise. So a lot of people ask me, hey, I've got an Eloise account. Should I transition away from Eloise and now go for my Transcendence hero because I have just got my first Transcendence hero? The answer is no. Do not do that. Wait until you get to Tree of Origin 3, and that way you can do the Glory Challenge, and because you're doing the Glory Challenge, you're using soul symbols, you're swapping stuff on your account, and therefore you can use that opportunity of using soul symbols to coincide that with a transformation on your account. Now, the next question a lot of people ask me is, well, when do I do the bottom level of the Glory Challenge? You'll see here that if you get to Tree of Origin 5, level 120, that requires 1.25 million Spiritual Essence. That's a lot of Spiritual Essence, but let's suppose you can go ahead and do that. When should you do that? Well, there'll be this period when you get to 5 Transcendence heroes where you will actually want to move away from that big damage dealer you have and go for a Starwing Jara, because Starwing Jara is the most effective hero for clearing the Void campaign. Some people think they have to have an Unga Bunga Smack Smack Vulcan who does a ton of damage and is fully sublimed with a crazy support team. Some people think you need to have a Mockman who's super duper sublimed and has all the damage and all the support and wrecks face. Some people think you have to have a Star Alchemist Holmes Young with a core. I mean, it helps, but the main thing that people can do, which is super cheap, super efficient for any free-to-play player, is have a Starwing Jara. For context, a Starwing Jara with 5.5 million attack can get as far in Void campaign as a Mockman with almost 9 million. Let me say that again. 5.5 million attack Jara can get just as far as a Mockman with 9 million attack. That's how ridiculous Starwing Jara is, because all Starwing Jara needs to do is be faster than your opponent. And thanks to the bonuses that we have across the game, the Tree of Origin, the bonuses that you can get for speed, the fact that Asmodel the Dauntless exists and he slows down your opponent by a stupid amount. It says speed by 50 here, but once you look here, you can see it's an 80 speed reduction. That's ridiculous. You can make Starwing Jara super duper fast if you want to, and provided you have the right artifacts, which is 4 Demon Bells, maybe 2 Receptors, a Melodic String, some 2 Golden Crowns, all splendid. You can use a beautiful team with a Starwing Jara to get way into level 3 of Void Campaign. And once you reach that point, it's then time to swap everything again, because then you can go and build a Vulcan account, or you can go ahead and build a Mockman account. Now, this might all change when Geista comes out, although he's going to have a really difficult time competing with Jara's efficiency and performance in the late game, and a lot of heroes are going to struggle with the efficiency and performance of heroes like Mockman and Lord of Fear Aspen in the early game. So if you guys are looking for something really, really helpful, a tiny piece of advice I can give you: coincide your glory challenge changes when you're going to go and chase all of the spiritual essence from here. Coincide that change with huge account overhauls. So when should you go and transition to a Transcendence hero as your main hero? Do it when you've got Tree of Origin 3 and are close to getting your second Transcendence hero. When should you go and do the bottom level? When you get to Tree of Origin 5 level 120 and you have the soul symbols to switch your account when you're at 5 Transcendence heroes, maybe 6, into an account focused on Jara. Of course, if you spend money, things might be a bit different, but then again, isn't efficiency something we should be chasing anyway? Because if you're going to spend money, you don't need to spend all of it and use all of it to force out strategies that work. I mean, some people like to do that. Some people like to buy A tiers. But if you're looking for something cheap, efficient, and good, Jara is the hero. And that's what you do when you get to 5 or 6 Transcendence heroes. If you want a Vulcan account, if you want a Mockman account, just wait until you've got Jara to get as far as she can in Void Campaign, because I see it time and time again. Even just today on Facebook, someone put out a post saying, "I regret switching to Mockman." That's right, Jara's a beast, and you should be using her. So there's your answer, folks. When should you move from Eloise? There you go. When should you swap to Jara? There you go. And how do you do the Glory Challenge? Well, you just coincide those things together. See you next time. Hopefully you learned something. Have a good week. Happy idling.